Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Shot of Time. I'm your host, Steve Barnes. Today we're back at Time Bandits. We're doing episode 5. We're on the episode Georgian? I don't know. Let's see how James pronounces it. I'm going to bring in my host right now. My co-host. He's James McCullum. He's the marshland monster from Mostly Speaking Sentai et al. Ahoy there, James.
Ahoy, may you find the water in the shade, Steve. And find a dog in a kitchen on a hamster wheel.
I've got most of that minus the hamster wheel. I've got the dog in the kitchen. I'm two-thirds of the way there.
Do you have a spit roast in the kitchen as well?
Nada. But I've got a grill. I can work something out. I think we can make this happen.
You worked at Applebee's in the back. You got this.
I worked front of house, back of house, and the bar. Don't forget, I was the bartender.
Whoa, I didn't know that. What was your favorite drink to make?
Oh, I mean, the classic Long Island iced tea, because it was like we knew exactly how much to put in that thing, so you didn't have to use the measuring things. This is pre like the digital pours, so I think the Long Island iced tea, because I liked the way it looked like soda when you were done with it. I would give it a good shake, so it had like some foam on top, so it looked kind of like a soda. I like that.
My favorite drink to make is vodka neat.
That's a difficult one to make, James. You have to go to the bartending academy to figure that one out.
I did. I went down to Western Avenue, and then I went to a place that said it was called Elroy's Liquor, and I picked up some vodka and just took it home.
Take it on home, James, man. We got to bring in our guest because we have a third individual here. Now, you already know her. I know her voice and I know her face. I know her as Shelby Schwieterman. She hosts the podcast along with her buddy Sam over there at the Rom Complex. You might know her as R2 Shelby 2 on Twitch, where she streams constantly. It's Shelby. Ahoy there, Shelby.
Hello. I'm just over here drinking my soda that doesn't look suspiciously like Long Island iced tea.
Heck yeah. What's your favorite drink to make, Shelby?
Recently, for my family, I made something called a water lily, because it's got gin, orange liqueur, and this creme de violet, which makes it purple. And I just thought it was a fun thing to do. I like cocktails.
Of course you like a water lily because it's very frog adjacent.
Yeah, and my mom's name is Lily.
Whoa, yeah. You're all up in the little swamps.
I'm so in there. I'm getting snapped at by crocodiles.
Whoa, or by snapping turtles.
All of them.
Y'all know that I rescued a giant snapping turtle, speaking of which, in Fredericksburg. The thing was I'm holding my arms really far apart. It had a giant shell like this. And it was just parked in the middle of a road around a dead curve. And I didn't want to just leave it there. So I thought I'd get out my truck and like shoo it across the road like you would shoo a cat or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the thing turned around with some incredible speed and started running at me. It was frightening. And
yeah, they're terrifying.
Yeah, I know this now. Before this, I was like, oh, turtle. Yeah, I'm going to save a turtle. And then it almost killed me. It was terrifying, James.
You have to throw rocks at it and tell it its friends don't want it around anymore, and then it'll run away.
Luckily for me, a couple of good old boys drove by at this exact moment. They pulled over, and I mean, these are real good old boys now. And one of them grabbed the thing by its tail, and he flung it into the woods. And I was like, that is a brave dude right there. He was super brave.
Did your knees go weak a little bit at that? Were you like, oh my gosh?
Oh. I mean, I was verklempt. Of course I was. I think I was shaking for like 15 minutes afterwards. It was an encounter.
Did you go down to your local weeb spot, buy a fake tail, and say, swing me around, Daddy?
Swing me around.
Toss me into the woods.
I did not. We got some turtle talk happening here. Shelby, you've been watching Time Bandits with us now. Did you watch all of Time Bandits?
I watched the first 5 episodes of Time Bandits.
That's so awesome. So unexpected. That's great. What are you thinking?
It's a fantastic show. I love it. It's such a good, tight, cleverly written little family show. It's got heart. The money is on the screen. The actors commit. And like I said, every episode is just so tightly written. The comedy is great and wholesome and silly. I'm really just really pleased. I did not expect to like it this much.
Man, you say the actors are committing. I think whoever's writing this should be committed, because only a crazy person could write this freaky stuff.
It's pretty out there.
Time travel?
It almost reminds me of like a live action cartoon. This could have been an animated show easily. And I'm glad they didn't make it that way, because I'm kind of adverse to animation, honestly. So I'm kind of glad they went this route with it. I mean, the best crew you could think of. I mean, we could criticize a few like weak points of the show, but there's no need to, because every episode is enjoyable to me. I've seen all of them, Shelby, and I haven't seen a bad one yet. My least favorite episode was, I believe, the last one that we just watched, Prohibition, which even that episode has some fantastic strong points to it. You obviously watched Prohibition last week, Shelby, yes?
I did, and I thought it was great. I mean, it's so fun to go. I was talking to my boyfriend about this. It's so fun to take a time travel show, and people are always complaining about like, we're traveling back to this era, so it wouldn't be time appropriate to have Black actors in it. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna just have the entire supporting cast of this episode be Black actors, because like what? There's really no excuse for it.
Yeah, it's a fantasy show. So, I mean, there's no rules involved. There's no logic involved. And I like that they adhere to that. But yeah, okay, yeah, it's on me now. Okay. The last episode, Shelby, or I should say last episode, James.
Yes.
I was talking about how I have so many notes and I don't like read all my notes during the episode. There's a couple things that I missed last episode on Prohibition, which is Bumpy Johnson, who was played by Country Wayne, and then Madam Queenie. Those are two like real people in history. I did not realize that. I should have known that based on this show. Did you know that, James?
I just assumed they were.
Yeah. So like I wrote down like their history and stuff, but I never brought it up last week. So this guy, Bumpy Johnson, was like the godfather of Harlem. I'll just say he has a 40, he has a body count of 40. And we're not talking like the kid getting laid. Body count of 40. He was called the Robin Hood of Harlem, which is kind of interesting because we just saw like a Nottingham episode. Madam Queenie was like the leader of the 40 Thieves, but she actually had nothing to do with bootlegging. She was a numbers racketeer, and she gave up her business to pursue civil rights advocacy. So she handed over her whole gang, the entire operation, to like a famous mobster named Lucky Luciano, who I don't know exactly who he is, but I know the name. I've heard it before. So yeah, these are two actual people that I didn't even bring up last week. I just pretended like they were all fictional characters, which is my bad, I guess.
I like how they kind of called to Madam Queenie's history of civil rights in the episode, because she's on the phone and she's like, get everyone out to vote.
Yeah.
Also, crime stuff. So yeah, they do their research on this show. And again, it's like, it makes this different historical eras digestible and entertaining to kids.
Yeah, plus it like provides comedy too, like because like they don't always portray these individuals in history the way they should be portrayed, and they take a lot of liberty with them to provide comedy. Case in point, Casanova here. Casanova's this individual that Judy points out at one point in this episode that because he says, I'm the world's greatest lover. And Judy's like, according to who made this list, which is like kind of a footnote to his history, because everything we know about Casanova is through autobiographies, which he wrote throughout his life. So everything we know about him, he gave us himself.
That's great.
What about kind of history would you write for yourself, James? That's what I'm wondering. If you could write your own autobiography in history.
I guess like died in childbirth.
The blue baby.
That umbilical cord wasn't taken around his neck soon enough. I don't know if I've said this to either of you. Last Thanksgiving, my mom was here, and we were talking about like me being a blue baby, and I go, oh man, just imagine if that umbilical cord didn't get untied from my neck soon enough. And she goes, oh, I don't even want to. And I go, no, Mom. And I like hold her knee and I say, imagine it. And then Nicole laughs so hard because Nicole is like someone who's like, why would you say that to your mom?
Exactly.
Yeah,
like this
Nicole's
is a weird relationship.
Normal, reasonable person.
No, okay. My mom is also weird. We talk about it.
Oh,
yes.
James.
We
know.
like My mom used to show me, this has been brought up multiple times today on different recordings. My mom showed me and still tries to show me to this day my childbirth.
That's
Like
kind
on
of
video?
cool.
It's not cool, Shelby. It's cool that it exists, but me seeing my mom like birth me, no.
You just don't want to see your mom's parts.
Yeah. I also, oh man, this had a shooty ending. Because I didn't die in childbirth.
Aw, the poor kid lived. What a tragedy.
The boy who lived, yeah. I'm upset about it.
And well, you're blessing my life to this day, so.
Oh, quit
Same here.
lying.
This podcast wouldn't exist without James McCullum. It would not exist.
True. That's true. I think a lot of things wouldn't exist without James.
Yeah, Casanova, you hearing this? So let me turn some attention to Shelby here. Shelby, I'm not going to ask you the same question because that was a weird question. I don't even know where that came from.
Oh, I know the question. Shelby, what's your body count?
Please don't answer that, Shelby.
Okay, I was like, let me see. Let me make some calculations real quick.
You're like, I went back in time to September 30th, 1991 and almost got my first body count. But boy, oh boy, that doctor was quick to unwrap that umbilical cord.
Yeah, I did actually wrap the umbilical cord around James's neck in the womb.
Whoa, y'all were in utero together? I didn't know this. Y'all are twins.
Well, no, I mean, it was like a time travel scenario. The portal ended up in the uterus. I got in and out real quick.
Widgets, not again.
No, don't blame him. He read it right. I asked for that.
But what were you going to ask, Shelby?
Just a normal, stupid question that I ask most guests about where she would like to travel in time to.
Okay.
Maybe James's mother's womb. I guess we already got our answer. But, for real, though.
Can I pick a different one?
You can absolutely pick a different one.
Yeah, I always say that I would go to the future. I don't think I would go to the past. That's back there. Let me see what's ahead. I want to know what's coming. I'm curious. Like the past, done. We did that already.
I mean, you blew my mind. I think you blew everybody's mind. That's a great answer that I don't agree with personally. I don't want to do that.
You don't want to go to the future?
I mean, we're doing it second by second every day, but I'm scared of the future. So I'm be kind of nervous to hit that button and see what's up there in 30 years. I'd be afraid of oblivion, or I don't know what I'd be afraid of.
Why be afraid of the thing that's already hurtling toward us every second?
You sound like Penelope now. Okay, yeah.
I love this show.
Did either of you guys ever see The Comeback with Lisa Kudrow by any chance?
No.
I believe they did a callback to that show in here because when, we're kind of scattered. I'll get us some structure in a second here. But yeah, Lisa Kudrow said to Kevin at one point when Kevin was going to duel the Earl of Sandwich, and she said, "A child in a duel? We don't want to see that." Which is like her catchphrase in the show The Comeback, which she always says, "I don't need to see that." So I kind of think that was a callback to that. And the cadence that she said it as well.
Hey, they're riffing on set?
Yeah, and maybe they didn't even mean it, but when she sees that sentence written down, Lisa is like, "Oh, I got this queued up. It's muscle memory."
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start leading us through this episode to get us a little bit of focus here.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we're starting here in Stonehenge because the gang just came from the Jersey Shore, 1929. So we're starting out in Stonehenge here. They're eating some sticks, which is a slight reoccurring joke from the Stonehenge episode because at one point, Kevin's dad says he's going to take us to a pile of sticks. And then his mom said like the gift shop sells like sticks to eat. So I believe this is like a takeoff of that in a way.
Sticks? Those things are everywhere.
They are.
I mean, I've written sticks into a script, but I wouldn't eat them.
Also, as two people who wrote scripts together.
And wrote a stick into one.
Wait, we did?
Branched in the step-by-step episode.
Oh, yeah. But doing reoccurring bits in episode to episode, like this holds sweat well. It's just something holds sweat well. And Christianity, we love just being like, yeah, and they're really into God. So It's always funny when you pick up on that as a viewer or a listener, like, oh, this is something that the writer's room just really thinks is funny, and I think it's funny now because I'm being let in on this inside joke.
Yeah. And the Stonehenge thing, this is like the coolest portal I think I've seen. They're getting ready to go through a portal that's like in the middle of the Stonehenge thingy. What did Widget called it something in particular that I didn't write it down, but it has a name, the Stonehenge doorway.
Lentil.
Lentil.
Lentil. Did I get it right? Something around there. The approximate noises.
The main reason that they're there in Stonehenge is because Widget got the time wrong again, because they're supposed to be in England, Bingley 2024. He brought them to England, Stonehenge again. Now they're just kind of waiting for the portal to open. Before it does, though, Jasper shows up. This is one of the Supreme Beings dudes. If you didn't pick it up last week, Shelby, both of the Supreme Beings fellows are named Jasper. Jasper and Jasper.
Wait, oh, really? I thought it was Jasper and Casper.
Somebody called him Casper, and he said, no, my name's Jasper.
I thought maybe they were just confusing him for Casper.
That's the running joke of this show is everybody gets names wrong. That's another running joke. And so, yes, they're both named Jasper. And that's like, that came to pass because of that joke.
I have flavor to add to this.
Okay.
Because I was watching an old episode of Say Yes to the Dress.
Okay.
Where brides go into the store, they pick out wedding dresses, whatever. One bride had her fiance's brother there with her, and his name was Jasper.
Okay.
And her fiance, the twin brother, was named Casper. These are twins named Casper and Jasper. And I was prepared to talk about that as part of this show. But they are, in fact, Jasper and Jasper.
Maybe you saw that and you just thought, hey, these are two Jaspers. Well, that can't be right. It has to be Jasper and Casper, like in Say Yes to the Dress.
I have to throw out 3 pages of Jasper-Casper jokes.
Was one of them about Casper the Ghost, maybe?
I did mention that, yeah. And okay, Jasper, as a thing to help you burn it to go. It doesn't matter.
A Casper flip, like when they're skateboarding and somebody did a Casper flip. Was that one of your jokes too?
I definitely talked about that front side nose slide off the rail into a Casper flip.
Was one about Casper from Kids, the guy who gave Chloe Sevigny AIDS at the end?
I have no legs. That Casper, yeah.
Definitely that one.
Oh, wait, no. He got AIDS from her because he got that from that F-boy. Dang it, we're not supposed to curse on this.
No cursing, James. The editor's going to be really mad at you about that. He's
actually, I saved it so I can crossfade the f from one into to F, and it's perfect. I'm good at my job.
These kids are going to know all these bad words thanks to you, James.
I'm not saying any bad words. It's not even bleeped out. It's just it didn't happen.
With those noises, they'll figure it out.
Oh, no, I just said F-boy. That's all I said in the edit. That's it, baby.
It stands for fun boy, right?
Editing is a lot like time travel because you can go back to before a word was said and undo it.
Yep.
Yeah, these things are foreign to me sometimes. All right.
Oh, trust me, I've heard it when you edit. Oh, I'm kidding.
Jasper is warning these guys. He's like, y'all, because Judy calls him out and is like, hey, it's a dude. And Jasper's like, don't give the map to the Supreme Being. The Supreme Being's got this plan. He's not really clear, but he lets them know that they got to covet the map and they got to keep it from evil and from the Supreme Being. So, yeah, Jasper is a little bit of a, I don't want to call him like a turncoat or anything like that, but he's a conspirator. We know now that they're called the conspirators. So he's one of those.
Well, he's a whistleblower.
Exactly. Jasper is speaking out against a corrupt system because Jasper is seeing, because we know the Supreme Being's plan at this point, right? I watched all of these episodes back to back, so I don't know where one begins and the other.
But yeah, we know his plan.
So he's gonna wipe the earth, and all of the Supreme Being's buddies are like, what about all the people, and I think Jasper is one of the, like, Jasper's a good guy in this, to me. Like, that's what you should do. Hey, if you see something, say something.
And we learned in this episode as well, we learned a lot of interesting things about the bandits and about, like, all of the beings around the Supreme Being and evil as well. None of them were born, they were spawned. This is what we learned from Alto, like in an offhand remark, that he was not born, they were spawned by the Supreme Being. And when we talk to the two detectives later on, those two detectives who are also going to be our fellow conspirators as well, the way they're talking is the exact same way. They were spawned to follow the Supreme Being. And the female detective, Detective Catherine, is kind of confused because she's like, well, if we don't do what he says, then what do we do? Because she was just programmed only to do what he says. And now she's getting this conspiracy in her mind, right?
And I love how that echoes back to episode 3, talking to the guards who are going to burn them. The medieval episode. Is that episode
that's
3?
what I thought.
The guards are going to burn them, and they're telling them, hey, if you all agree not to torture us, then he doesn't have any power. It's just, it's so, like, communist, like, the workers have the power, like... It's really cool. I like the show.
I do too. I'm so glad you're on board, and I'm glad I'm getting people to get into it. Let me call back to that medieval, because while we're sitting there talking about them, those two individuals, I know it's Sergeant Catherine, and I think the other guy's name is Detective Lewis, I believe. They're also on board this conspiracy. James, you saw that big bite of egg that Catherine took this episode, right?
Yeah.
Are you now disgusted by her? Are you on my side, or do you think that's okay for her to be going around tasting all the evidence?
No, I'm still fine with it.
Jesus.
Like, it was weird that she did this, but she needed to know, like, what is this? And if she has I think it's like this. The Time Bandits were in the floral stuff. Like, so they know what garden stuff is. I think if you were spawned to be a detective, you know all the detective stuff, so you know what everything tastes like. So maybe that's her detective style is, hey, I need to taste this. Awesome. I know exactly what this is.
Hey, taste is one of the things we use to detect the world around us.
That's why I'm always licking phones and whatever I see. Why did I get COVID a couple weeks ago?
Fair. You know, and you can test this. Look around your room, pick any object, and imagine what it feels like on your tongue, and you can do it, and you will be right. Because our tongues are very sensitive. Our, like, mouths are very... We got a lot of sensors there.
Shelby, didn't we talk about this on Kaiju Icon?
I would not be surprised.
I think I brought this up, and I think you guys were like, excuse me, James?
Well, listen, I play a lot of roles, so.
Okay.
So once again, I'm misguided. I'm finding myself like my mother, because James pointed out last episode, I had a real boomerish take on something. This is what's happening. And this is just like my mom. My mom, because my mom knows I like metal and she knows I like comedy. So let's say that, like, my mom came upon like a Linkin Park thing. She's like, oh, Steve likes heavy metal. I bet he'd love this. And so she picks it up for me and gives it to me. And I'm like, oh, I mean, thanks, but this is not kind of quite what I like. That's what I did with James. I see this Detective Catherine. And I'm like, I know James's style. He doesn't like to eat with his hands. I know, he's got his quirks. So I'm like, I think this Detective Catherine, I think I'm seeing something here that he's going to hate. He's going to hate it. As it turns out, he's just kind of like, nah, it's fine. And so I'm like my mom here. I'm real disappointed. I tried to get that Linkin Park CD for you, and you just don't care.
It's because it's just the fingertip. If she was like scooping it and like getting it real gross on her face, then I'd be like, ugh. But no, she does. It's like, this is all I need. Poke. Okay, I know this is a dragon egg.
And she didn't like it. Like, she looked upset about tasting it. She does this because she has to, Steve.
It would have been very funny if she like dipped it, and then like in the Welch's grape juice, you go, yeah, and she goes, ooh, I
sour.
like that. It's tart.
A nice tart taste.
Hey,
egg.
Steve, has she ever been like, oh, I found something you're going to love, and just hands you a Steel Panther CD?
I mean, no, she has never gone to like that specific.
Because that's metal and comedy.
Oh, okay, yeah. Stevie would love this, little Stevie. Okay, all right, I like this. You're getting to know my mom pretty well now. Let's see, Supreme Being. I think we've already covered everything with him because they didn't do a whole lot in there. We checked in with the Supreme Being once or twice in this episode. No plot points on his end, but we did learn that I've had this image of Fiona as like this great, tracker, like this great person that's, all evil encompassing or whatever. We learned that she kind of sucks at her job this episode.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's that. I think it's that she has her own agency, which would make sense. Like, Satan's going to say hey, yeah, man, do whatever you want, but God's going to keep you down, okay? So maybe that's just me projecting my own views on things, but
That's okay.
She seems like, yeah, I did a detour, but I think the detour was legitimate. If it could be like, hey, I wanted to just do whatever I wanted to do. Or the detour is, I smelled this boy going through all these wormholes. Unfortunately, it was his sister who also smells like him because they're from the same household. That could have been the detour. I don't know. Or it's just her saying yeah, I wanted to see the sights, and that's fine. Get paid and, see ancient Rome.
She was cramped up for billions of years,
yeah,
and she needs a walk.
Yeah, she had to take a long pee.
I'm thinking about something now. I mean, point, counterpoint. That's not bad, James. But you've mentioned something about her great sense of smell, which is true. It makes me wonder, Catherine's got the great sense of taste, I guess, and she's following the bandits that way. And now we got Fiona smelling her way to them. I just made that connection just now. So I think that might be a thing, that the detectives have keen powers, I suppose.
I would hope they do.
That's, kind of what you need.
Sensory powers, yeah. But let's see, what do we do this episode? They go to a party. The guys arrive in Georgian time. So I'm going to think this episode is somewhere around 1760 because both of these dudes were born around 1720, 1730. Both of these dudes being Casanova and the Earl of Sandwich. So I'm guessing this is a 1760 thing. This is a pineapple party, guys. And pineapple parties were a real thing in Georgian times. I mean, they explained it in this episode. They're completely correct about all that. These parties started because of the rarity of the fruit. And what did I write about this? Since then, pineapple parties and the pineapple as a symbol of welcome is still existent, but the swinger culture of the 70s has kind of taken over the pineapple.
Yeah, pineapples are kind of swinger coded nowadays.
They are swinger coded, but there's a specific thing you can do to differentiate between the two, because generally the swingers will have the pineapple upside down. And that's been kind of the accepted altercation to differentiate between the two.
I like to put my pineapple on the side and see what happens.
Oh.
I like my upside down pineapple in cake form, please. And by that, I mean a juicy butt.
Woo! Let's
From someone who isn't my wife.
I like my pineapple on my toast Hawaii. And Sweet Child listeners, you know what I'm talking about. Sweet Child of Time is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the way we record Sweet Child of Time. We hook up with our guests via video and we record it on audio. Recently, we've been doing video podcasts with the cast of Time Bandits. It's easy using Zencastr. You can record video or audio. You can also edit your podcast or your video via Zencastr. Join Zencastr using my promo code Sweet Child of Time and you can get 30% off Zencastr. If you're ready to start your podcast, it's time to share your story. Share it with Zencastr. That promo code once again, Sweet Child of Time at Zencastr.com. What else is true in this episode? I'm not going to go into the history of these individuals at this point, but we do know they sneak into the episode. They sneak into the home with the help of Alto. I think Alto is kind of shining this episode. This is the episode he got to really, bring himself to the forefront. Like last episode, he was in a lot of it, spending time with Emmy, trying to hang out with her. This episode, he's not only helping them get in there, he's getting their clothes for them, getting them dressed up right. He's doing his eyebrow acting, which impresses everyone.
Fantastic.
Face acting is real acting.
It is. He's a real dude. He gets invited to a real play by, who is this lady? The Dowager of something or another. I have her name written down here. I'm trying to go too fast. I want to find her name to give her some credit here.
Well, while you're looking that up, when they finally like go into the party and they're all in quotes dressed up, I say in quotes dressed up because they just splashed some flour on their face and found like vegetables and just rags to put on to make them look fancy. Penelope says, "Do you see what I see?" And then in tandem, they each like rapid fire what they think she sees. And it's the 18th century, twigs, repressed feelings, no one who looks at me.
No one who looks like me.
Yeah, no one who looks like me.
Oh, dang. I thought it's because he's like socially, like he doesn't like being seen.
No,
I was like,
it's because he's black.
That's an even better joke. Dang it. You guys probably watch with subtitles on.
We do.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay, I did not.
They have accents. How am I supposed to understand what they're saying?
Oh, my God.
Dude.
Except Kevin. He speaks quite clearly.
Yeah, he is the best speaker of the bunch, I would say. This woman is Martha.
I do have subtitles on in real time when Steve talks because he's got that sick Southern accent.
Yeah, boy. So our boy Alto, he's doing some eyebrow acting. He catches the eye of Martha. She is the impresario of the theater Royal Drury Lane, played by Jeanette MacDonald. She gets invited to like be part of a real play. And something else we learned in this episode, Alto has never actually been on stage. He's never been in a play. He's just simply been spawned as a floral director and wants to be an actor.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I love the eyebrow acting scene between him and Martha, you said.
Martha. Mm-hmm.
So what happens is he just starts doing eyebrow acting and she sees it and recites the part of Hamlet that she thinks he's doing. And it's like, it's so good because in the script, all that actor is given was like eyebrow act this monologue
This
from
line,
Hamlet.
yeah.
And he just had to do that and like convey that with just his eyebrows and face in a silly way that doesn't get boring because they do like the entire first part of this monologue. It's wonderful. I just had such a blast. I'm glad that people are getting to play silly roles like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, obsessed with how Alto keeps calling it Hamflet instead of Hamlet. Like he thinks it's called Hamflet.
Because he saw it on a pamphlet. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really funny.
Mm-hmm. I have a few notes before this spot.
Yeah.
When they were talking about eating sticks, Biddelig goes, "Oh, I have something we could eat." "Oh, what?" "Twigs." And they're like, "That's different." And he's like, "No, like it's a little snack you can eat," which twigs are just snack-sized sticks.
That's true. And have you ever chewed on like a birch twig?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. There you go.
I'm a country boy.
Right.
I love twigs.
Twigs is a treat.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never consumed it though. That's the thing is I've
just chew on it.
Yeah, just kind of chew on it. When it gets a little chewed up, you spit it out. It's fun stuff, but
I'll eat some wood and I'll get back to you on the next episode. So they're trying to figure out like what they are going to eat next, and they think they're going to the proper time where what's his nuts lives, Kevin, like to his house, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll drop him off, we'll steal his food," and Kevin goes, "We'll give you the food," and there's a beat, and Penelope says, "We really want to steal the food though." And then they are transported to this Georgian time, and they see this huge house. And then Widget goes, "There it is, there's your house." And he goes, "No, you've seen my house. It's in a cul-de-sac. No.
You love that they said cul-de-sac. I know that you did. I've heard you say that phrase many a time, James.
Cul-de-sac?
Yeah.
I mean, I probably said it to no, but they say cul-de-sac, I thought.
Yeah, they did. I don't know. What? I think we got semantic there. I don't know. I think it's inconsequential.
Yeah, I think James needs to get his subtitles on.
Wait, no, but it's spelled the same way. Cul-de-sac and cul-de-sac, it's spelled the exact same way.
Sure.
Do people pronounce it cul-de-sac?
Yeah, I think. Cul-de-sac, that's what I say.
You say the D?
No. Am I saying
I
the
say
D, Shelby?
cul-de-sac.
Yeah, you say the D.
Cul-de-sac.
Cul-de-sac.
No.
Because the D is in the second syllable.
Hold on. I'm going to check to see what Google
Is it
says.
not a
C-E-S-A-C.
cul-de-sac?
C-U-L. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I've
C-U-L.
never put the D in there. I always say cul-de-sac.
Okay.
That
I accept
reminds
it.
me, yeah, I mean, that's fun. Keep doing it. It reminds me of a guy who would always say the word saxophone as saxlophone. And I think I've talked about this before, but he thought that there was an L in there. And I think that's cute.
I say miscellaneous all the time, and it's not supposed to have a K in there. I say miscellaneous. And that's just my normal way to say that word, and it's wrong. And I say it every time.
Instead of skeleton, I say skellington, and I do that every time, and it's on purpose, and I'm not going to stop.
I used to say minint and ultimate ends at the end until everyone on Marshland Media bullied me into saying it the right way.
I'm sorry you were a victim of bullying. That's awful to hear. I hate bullying. I have an anti-bully policy.
It was on record, so it's fine.
Okay, all right. Well, I have a note too. You were talking about how their costumes at some point. I liked Widget's cauliflower behind the ear for absolutely no reason at all. It kind of looked like a flower. And Biddleleg wore that colander on top of his head. Mm-hmm. And that was a direct callback to the movie Time Bandits. They keep putting like a little Easter egg like in every episode because Fidget, who was one of the original Time Bandits, wore a colander on his head throughout the entire movie. So they threw one on Biddleleg's head.
That's really
good.
Sweet. I think I don't remember much of the movie. I watched it, oh my God, like 9 years ago probably at this point. At that time, I was watching everything through such like a feminist lens, kind of like a very narrow lens that a lot of Time Bandits, I was just like, there are no women in
There's no women. There's like
no
two.
And so of course, I mean, I'm sure if I went back and watched it, now it would have a different feel to it. But the way that they've really just expanded this world and played with it and really kept a lot of the same stuff and called back to the original a lot while making it its own thing for like now. I think I love it. How many times can I say it? And also I think this podcast is like the main advertising of this show. No one is talking about it.
I mean, yeah, I'm the sole guy out here doing it. I was even mentioned in an article that me and James were talking about last week. Somebody wrote an article about Time Bandits and they mentioned this podcast as doing recaps of it. I don't think anybody else is doing it. So I'd love to take that mantle up.
Whoo! I got one more note.
Go ahead for it, James.
So they go up to the house and they're looking in and it's the kitchen because they want to eat. And they're all like thinking, all right, what can we eat? Who's going to say things we can eat? And Kevin goes, oh my God, they have a turnspit dog. And they're like, we're not going to eat some weird dog, man. And if you listen to Sweaty Time Pro Wrestling, you know about the Dominator.
Oh, no.
And I'm the monster for making a joke about a machine that doms dogs. This is real. This is history.
This is
I'm
history,
not
buddy.
the monster. People in Georgian times just having a dog truly on a wheel, like a hamster wheel, to turn turkey so someone else doesn't have to, just have someone do that job.
And I agree, but I mean, this was history. You're right. Kevin saved that dog.
Kevin saves the dog.
Of course he does. And as usual, Kevin pretty much saves the day because I mean, I'm kind of going randomly here. James is going, his notes are nice and in order here. So I'm going to try to join James and go in order. But he saves this dog, which later on in the episode turns out to save them by slowing down Fiona.
It's
so
great
once
writing.
again, Kevin saves the day.
That's karma.
Speaking of which, great writing, R2.
Yeah.
We totally could have done this show on Formulaic.
Absolutely. I was going to say the same thing because it's just a basic setup. You've got the characters. The characters are always going to act like the characters that they are, you know, and they're very, very laid out and you have a lot of fun stuff to work with.
And
Yeah.
every episode, it's a new period within history around something big that's happening or something that's like known for that historical time period. There's a mix-up within it. It's a classic sitcom of beginning, muddle, and end because you don't want your characters to change too much.
Sure.
Right. James and I are writing the episode where the Time Bandits go to the first gathering of the Juggalos.
No! R2, that was going to be my suggestion! What the heck?
Yeah. We're connected.
Wowzers, R2. I was like, well, what could we do that's like, what history do we know? And I was going to suggest that because like, oh, this is a very niche thing. But in a lot of writers' rooms these days, people love talking about juggalos. So we could throw that in and then
it basically writes itself.
You know, Shaggy 2 Dope and Violent J are actors as well. You've seen them in a movie. So
Certainly.
Wow, man. I wish you didn't get I mean, it's good that you're busy in life, but we need to get paid to do scripts.
I've been working on a project and it's going along nicely. So once that project has culminated, perhaps Formulaic can return for...
Maybe we do this. We do one episode a month. It's just... we write the episode 1 month, then we have a full month to write the episode, and then we do a table read the next month.
That would be better.
Yeah, there we go. Guys, be
we'll
on the lookout. In like, I don't know, 6 months, we'll be back at it. And we're going to write this Gathering of the Juggalo episode. We'll be on that first comeback.
On Formulaic, and Steve Barnes finally gets to be invited to the table read. Yes!
I think I forgot your email, Steve. I'm kidding.
A big theme of this episode 5 here of Time Bandits, is posturing. And that's kind of a theme like every week. But this week, it's really to the forefront here. The gang has to, pretend to be Georgian to get into the party, first off. Alto has to be the great actor, has to pretend to be the great actor that he is not, which we know. The Earl of Sandwich is a phony figure here. In this episode, he's a complete phony. In real life, the Earl of Sandwich didn't invent the sandwich, but it absolutely was named after this individual. Mm-hmm. His name is John Montague. I'm going to go ahead and talk about him. The real guy, the Earl of Sandwich, is John Montague, and he held like a bunch of different, like high positions, actually. He was the 4th Earl of Sandwich, which is an area in England. He was the Postmaster General of England, and he was also the Admiral of the Great Navy during the American Revolution.
Oh, heck yeah.
However, he was not good at any of his jobs. Obviously. He was well known as like being, just not great at any of the jobs that he did.
If he were good, we wouldn't be independent.
That's right.
He made the sandwiches popular because he was a member of the world famous Hellfire Club. You might have heard the Hellfire Club on Stranger Things recently. That's based after a real club that existed in England in the 1700s that the Earl of Sandwich was a member of. And these were a bunch of bad boys. They did things like play poker and drank and have sex with women. They were super bad boys. See, the thing is, they postured. They did like a huge thing of posturing, like pretending like they were bad, when really they were just, dandies, and they admit it. And that's kind of like what their theme was. It was like upper class individuals doing lower class deviance or something along those lines.
Slumming it.
They pretended like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they played a lot of poker, and this dude would sit around the table and he would order, a piece of meat between 2 pieces of bread. Nobody called it anything. There wasn't a name for it. So people would just say, give me whatever Sandwich is having. Give me one of those things that Sandwich is having. And eventually that's why we got the name Sandwich. He didn't invent it, but he did make it popular. So I thought yeah? Oh, you were just going to respond to me. Sorry. What's happening, Shelby? I'm sorry.
I don't know. I guys started thinking about a sandwich and I got hungry.
The sandwich guy says that he created the most convenient food ever. However, I will challenge that. The calzone is the most convenient food, but when you're eating with a utensil, you don't want to touch a calzone with your hands. Also, you don't want to touch a sandwich with your hand. However, However, burrito is a close second, but only if it's folded by a true artist, just tightly packed. Because if it's not, it's going to like fall out and everything. But I think calzone. Yeah, but burrito.
Okay.
They'll fall out.
I was just saying a burrito artist instead of a sandwich artist. We got a burrito artist.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think of like things I've eaten while driving and what's the most convenient. Definitely not a black bean crunch wrap.
But a burrito.
But a burrito. Ooh.
I mean, a very plain sandwich, like,
Yeah.
you know, piece of meat or piece of cheese between two pieces of bread would be fine. But I like sub sandwiches, like with lettuce and onions and oil and vinegar and stuff. So it's not convenient to eat while you're driving. I'm a trail mix guy when I'm driving. I like that.
Ooh, that's good.
If I'm driving, I need a passenger to feed me.
You open your mouth and they just kind of...
pop it in there.
If I'm driving, I hope the cops aren't around because I don't have a driver's license.
Or a car. What did you do? How did you get that?
Nicole said this morning, like, yeah, I need to get a car. I was like, Nicole, what is wrong with you? You hate owning a car, and I think it's just been so long since you've owned one that you forgot how terrible it is.
But then once you get it, you'll remember like the reason that you like them too.
No.
It's one of those kind of double-edged swords, buddy.
She didn't like it. I didn't like it. We did not like owning cars. And on our first episode of Mostly Speaking Sentai reviewing Car Ranger, we went in depth of how much we hated owning a car. And I was like, Nicole, I guess you're going to have to re-listen to that episode.
Yeah, I was just thinking you need to sit her down, light a candle, put up the Bluetooth speaker, and play that episode so she remembers.
Unfortunately, because of my smelling stuff, we cannot light candles in the apartment.
Oh, boo. You can get one of those candles that like operate like with a battery. One of those.
We
kind
do
of
have
deals.
those.
Yeah. Do they smell? They probably don't smell, do they? Do they emit a scent of some sort?
No, I would hate them if they did.
Oh, that's right. The scents. No good scents. Okay. Anyway, posturing. I was talking about posturing this episode. We had the Earl of Sandwich. Casanova is always posturing as like the world's greatest lover, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Penelope postures as brave here, even though we know that she likes to run. And she confirms at the end, she's like, that's how you survive is by running. But she postures as brave in this episode. Yeah, so a lot of faking it till you make it this episode.
Yeah, and it's so funny, like, what their posturing does for them, because for Penelope, she's ready to go, right? And then they're like, oh, you're a coward. And she's like, what did you just, and that like turns it on. And she's like, okay, time to posture. And for the rest of that, like, she's like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to die. But at the actual duel, right? Mm-hmm. The duel is just make-believe because as the Earl says, at this point in history, they don't ever actually fire at each other. They only have the duel to show everyone how angry they are about something. They're not actually trying to kill each other.
I thought that was adorable. I mean, I did not realize that was how it was going to go down. And they got so upset at Penelope for actually trying to kill the guy. But yeah, before we get to the duel, I'm going to try to go point by point here. We're at the party. Kevin meets the Earl of Sandwich and inadvertently insults him, not just by eating the pineapple, because they make their way to the pineapple room and the guys start eating in there. But he also insults him by questioning whether or not he invented the sandwich, which of course enrages our man. So he challenges Kevin to a duel. This is when Penelope steps in and she does the duel for him instead. I wanted to mention before that happened, Penelope learned magic tricks this episode. I've never seen her do magic tricks before, but she's doing magic tricks in an obvious attempt to cheer Kevin up.
I thought that was so sweet.
I did too. She's like starting to really get in there.
And even, I mean, you could see it early on when Kevin in an earlier episode is talking about something like his parents said to him. And she's like, they said that to you out loud. She clearly cares about this kid. And I think she cares about their little ragtag bunch of people.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet in the ways that actually shows up for her. So learning little magic tricks to entertain Kevin and saying, you look happy. It'd been a while since I'd seen you smiling. That's just, I love it. That's the kind of stuff that's like, oh, you want to see that? Forget the boys. Show me time, bandits.
But yes, she's like very caring for him, but maybe it's because she was just spawned. She does not understand human emotion or like social cues because she goes, I like that you haven't smiled in a while. You seem sad. Why is that? And he goes, well, like my parents got turned into coal. And she goes, oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, she's learning how to care, but she does lament for Gavin some more in this episode. She pulls out the picture of Gavin once more and laments about him. We still don't know the full story behind her and this fiance, Gavin. But again, I mean, I think she's learning how to love James. She's learning this stuff and she lost this fellow and she's learning how to be sorrowful about her loss, I guess. Also, the cats, while they're having their fun in there, this is before the duel, the cat is observing this. And we are once again reminded that cats are evil and the evil can see through cats' eyes. Shelby, is there a cat in your house?
There is not, but I would say, okay, the cats are agents of evil. I'm not going to say the cat itself is evil. It's just looking.
Well, Mr. Boots from a couple episodes back actually tried to kill the Time Bandits.
They did try to kill them, yeah, but who knows? Maybe the pure evil was just like in there, I just don't want to blame the cat.
I don't either normally, but this is like we said before, this is a fantasy show. There's no rules. So like, even though I love cats in real life, I think I'm going to have to accept that cats are on evil side in this universe and that they are kind of evil.
In this universe, good and evil are the same side.
Oh,
and I'm on the other one.
You said there are no rules. Well, guess what? Now, new rule, cats are evil.
Yeah. So Penelope's worried about Kevin, but Kevin was also worried about Penelope too. He laments, I think it's during the bedtime scene, where he's, telling Penelope he doesn't want to lose her as well because he's lost his parents. Now he's worried he's going to lose, the next like parental figure in his life, which is, in this case, is Penelope. More gender fun with Penelope. The butler keeps calling her sir. And she's like, no, I'm not a sir. I'm a woman. And he responds, yes, sir.
Of course, sir.
A note from previously, I got a couple. It's when they're talking about Casanova, it's Biddelig and Kevin. Biddelig says, oh, like, what's his deal? And he goes, oh, that's Casanova. He can woo women instantly. Like, that's what he's known for. And Biddelig goes, well, like, how did he get that way? Oh, from wooing women. But, like, before he was famous for wooing women, how did he woo women? And Kevin goes, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Biddelig. I don't know what to say.
Kevin, could you explain what happens between two adults when they're attracted to each other?
And I really like Pure Evil says, I am fear given form, never correct me. And if horrorcore artists from 2010 were watching this, they would have sampled that to start a song. I am fear given form, never correct me. And then they, do generic rhyme schemes on top of a sample of of the Phantasm main theme.
Yeah, this Casanova fellow, he writes his own history, like I said, but I got some answers to that. I have like a huge paragraph of stuff I wrote about Casanova. I'm going to briefly go through it real quick. He was the child of two wealthy stage actors when he was growing up. He started college at the age of 12, graduated at the age of 17.
Damn.
He was, how do I put this in kind terms? He was inappropriately touched at the age of 10 by an older woman, and very soon thereafter ensconced with two women. The first experience he had like of a consensual nature was with two sisters of 14 and 16, and he himself was 12. So I kind of get the feeling that looking at this through the lens of time and through like our modern lens, it seems like this guy probably was assaulted as a kid. And as a result, he continued that nature throughout his life. And that's how he got kind of the way he got. I don't know. That's a poor way of putting all that. Let me continue. wealthy benefactors all his life because he was super charming and he wormed his way into rich people's lives, basically. One senator, he saved the senator's life, and realistically did so. And he got to live with that guy for 3 years. He wormed himself into kings and queens. Henry III had him for a brief period of time. But he went through all kinds of different stages. A religious stage, he was a military officer, later a gambler and a musician. When he saved that senator at 21, he got a lot of clout for not just for saving the senator, but just being in the senator's home and being an advisor to him. So he was entrusted with the state bonds of Amsterdam to help increase their wealth. And he had a plan that he wrote out for them that he would increase their wealth by 8% within a certain amount of time by doing like tradings and stuff like that. It didn't work out. He failed at that job and was imprisoned. And he and another inmate escaped prison within 6 months. And he was on the lam for a while.
Imagine being so bad at your job that they send you to prison for it.
Well, this is a government gig with the budget of an entire country. So it's a pretty big deal.
I feel like he could have just increased it by 1% and they would have said, you lied to us. You said 8 in jail.
Maybe so.
Just fire him. I don't understand.
Or they're like, you only increased it 1%. What we know what you were doing. You were sleeping with all our wives.
Yep. After he was in prison twice in his life, and after he was released the second time, a politician released him from jail after 4 days for some kind of favor. That was really unclear in the history that I read why that went down, but he spent 4 days in jail before he was let out. At that point, he turned to the Freemasons and became an alchemist. And he claimed to be hundreds of years old, and people bought that. And that's the later part of his life is a lot of lies based around searching for the Philosopher's Stone, which is became popular in Harry Potter with the search for the Philosopher's Stone. This guy was actually living his life trying to find the Philosopher's Stone to obtain immortality, I guess.
Yeah, I guess if you're afraid of losing your youth, you'd work pretty hard to find immortality.
At this point, he bounced around between a dozen or more different countries holding different jobs, and he eventually passed away. And of course, Bohemia, that's where he eventually passed away. But before he did, he wrote about 13 different autobiographies, and people wrote biographies about him as well. And I think most of his stuff is verified, but some of the more personal stuff is not. I'm not sure what we can say is truth or fiction. But I mean, all this stuff is in the annals of history. So Casanova, by all means, was pretty fascinating. Not in this episode. He was my least favorite character in this episode. I didn't really enjoy his performance that much, but I did enjoy how he dug Judy, and Judy did not dug him back. And that's why he dug Judy. It was because Judy didn't dig him. I saw a little slight hint of jealousy with Biddleg.
Yeah.
Did y'all sense a little bit of that maybe?
I'm picking up on something there. I picked up on it, I think, in the last episode too.
Yes.
Just a couple times we've seen some hints.
Yeah. I think we might be missing some scenes as well, especially the last 3 episodes 3, 4, and 5. There's these veiled references to some sort of relationship happening between the two of them, but it seems like there's some things that are missing from us. But it's interesting to watch. We're only on episode 5. We got 5 more to go to see how this develops.
Oh, do we, Steve, have 5 episodes to go?
Do we, James?
Yeah,
I do. Do you?
We have 5 episodes to go.
How do I answer this, Shelby? What do I do? What do I do in this situation?
It's because he's already seen all the episodes.
Oh, I admit.
But you still have 5 more to talk about.
I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Our listeners here are still stuck back on episode 5. They don't want to go forward, just like you, James. They don't want to dare watch an episode without having a sweet shot of time ready for them to listen to.
Okay.
All right. So where are we at in our story? They crashed the pineapple party. They ate the pineapple. They're out to a duel. We talked about the duel slightly. Alto runs back to save them, which, again, big ups for Alto because he had his moment in the sun. He was able to, he was right there on stage, ready to do his thing. He remembers his pals and he runs back doesn't really save them, but he does give a nice speech, which, I think somebody mentions it was a nice speech, Alto. You did a good job, even though it didn't mean anything. We appreciate
a nice speech. It was a nice speech.
Very
and
nice.
It was already like past the point that it would have been needed. But it's like really sweet that he did that. And I like that the message was, you don't need to choose violence.
Exactly. And Bideleg, I think he said the same thing as well. That's I had a couple things about Bideleg in this episode. Not just that he said that violence is not. He says violence is never the answer. That's what he says. He's worried about Penelope getting hurt in the duel. Like Bideleg has a talk to Widget about this to get his feelings straight. Bideleg has a dream for the first time. He has a dream, and we learned that the Supreme Being doesn't allow them to have dreams generally. So now that they're in this world, they're starting to become even more human and having dreams, which I think is cool.
How lovely to have a dream. And which is like, oh yeah, I know what that is. And it's just very cool about explaining it too.
So I guess Widget's already there because, it's kind of known that Bideleg is not the smartest of the bunch. So I guess Widget's supposed to be the smartest of the bunch because he's the map reader. So he's a little bit ahead of everybody else.
Or he just knows a lot. He knows about the process.
Yeah, or maybe he definitely knows about the dreams. I think in a lot of cases he does a lot of posturing where he acts like he knows things, but he doesn't actually know things.
Or, real quick, Bideleg just didn't know about dreams. Maybe all the rest of the Time Bandits do, yeah.
Like he's finally on board now.
Yeah.
You know what I do? I take my notes and I do my notes while I'm watching the episode. And I used to write them down like James does, but I've taken to doing a speech to text thing. And every time I say Bideleg, it autocorrects to Little League. So that's what it says in my notes. Every time it says Little League, I know that's supposed to say Bideleg. So that's just the way it goes. The duel ends. Fiona shows up here. She's going to take them down. She simply grabs the gun in the duel and just shoots the Earl point blank with, no rules, no decorum. I mean, what is this? The third world or something?
Right.
He has the sandwich between his heart and the bullet, but of course the sandwich is not going to save them. I love that gag. That was wonderful.
I thought it was really well balanced to have the very quick, she very abruptly shoots this guy. So it is kind of quick violence, but it's still a kid's show. There's no blood.
Right.
And then there's a gag and he's saying, oh, the bullet didn't hit my heart because I have this sandwich here. And his buddy is like, I don't think that stopped the bullet. And then he starts screaming in pain. And there's you see the stretcher to carry him away. So that just sets it up to be oh, he's going to be fine, because this isn't a show where we're going to watch a man die in front of us like this.
I mean, but we have. We've seen people crushed in Stonehenge and other instances where they
but you don't really
die.
see it. It's just meh. It's cartoony.
I like to call out these actors, and I haven't been doing so this episode, except for Martha. I called her out. But yeah, Casanova is played by Alex Gibson Giorgio. And my favorite this episode is the Earl of Sandwich. I really liked his performance. I really liked when he was doing his little speech to Kevin, his little sales pitch about the sandwich. I love the guy right away. He's an actor named Mark Gatiss, and he's played in a lot of Taika Waititi. He's played in a lot of his shows. He appears a lot.
He was in that Sherlock BBC series as Sherlock's brother.
All right.
Shizlock. I don't know. I'm trying to
Murloc
come up with a good
Holmes?
name. Murloc Holmes, yeah. And he's in a lot of Doctor Who stuff too, or he's been in Doctor Who. It's he's a recognizable British actor.
I want to watch more stuff with him because I really liked his stuff in this episode. We'll get to that in a minute, though. I'm going to ask who our favorite people is. But before we do that, my favorite parts of this episode, the parts that actually made me LOL for real, was there was 2 times I did that. I mean, I chuckle, that's fine. But when I'm actually laughing is when Judy ate the pineapple. Now that actor, Charlene Yee, I'm a huge fan of. And all they got to do is make a face and it gets me. So when they walk in the room and they're eating the pineapple and everybody's shoving it in there, Judy's performance is through the roof. I just love the way they do that. And then Penelope, when she decides she's going to do the duel and she's shooting at the fire with her stick and the stick scares her because she says bang. I mean, I can't help but like laugh at that one too. I love Lisa Kudrow. Did y'all what were y'all favorites moments of this episode?
I
James? Oh, Shelby?
Yeah, I mean the pamphlet thing was really, really just got me. And then I loved how Penelope played this whole thing, and how she just went along with it and took the duel and like there was not a lot of arguing. She was just like, this is what I'm doing here today.
How about you, James?
I really liked the spit dog thing because how it was filmed and set up felt very Monty Python of this is a truly dark thing that we're watching, but it's played up for goofs. And then the conversation between Kevin and Bittaleg of, well, how did he become that way? That was very just a roundabout, and Kevin just going like, yeah, man, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't have all the facts of history on my side. And then
which he kind of does.
I mean, but he does not about like personal people, you know? And then I really liked the pineapple stuff when they're just like housing it. And he's like, I heard at the party you had 5 pineapples. Well, were you there? I wasn't invited.
Of course not. But I was thinking they were going to go back in time and use a time portal and grab them a bunch of pineapples. That was my first thought. Was Kevin was like, I can get you pineapples, no problem.
I think that they probably wanted us to have that first thought. Maybe they had that first thought when they were writing it, and then they're like, wait, we just did that. Like, just did that, so we got to do something else here. We can't solve every problem with just going through a portal and getting a thing from a different time.
And then I also really liked when Earl of Sandwich challenges Kevin to a duel, and Penelope says, well, no, like, he's a child. You can't challenge him. And then Sandwich goes, well, then I challenge you. And then she goes, well, you know, he's like a pretty good kid. I think he can handle his own. And just wild, just walking back every statement she just said.
Love it. So yeah, this episode, we've been talking to some of the stunties. James and I talked to Greta Vanderbrink, and I talked to Brandon Herbert, stunt performers for the show. But the actual actors themselves got to have some fun this episode because I saw some behind the scenes stuff. When they go through this last portal, they go into this weird void, and we don't exactly know what's happening at the end of this episode. They're going through like a very unusual void, and they're all kind of like floating around. The real cast got to get on those wires and get like 10 feet in the air and wiggle around a whole bunch. And they had a ball doing it. So they actually got to do the stunts for that scene.
I want to dangle like that. I got to get something. You know how people have like a standing desk? I need a dangling desk where I'm just on wires and I can reach the keyboard.
You need, you know, those things that when you train to be an astronaut, that just like you're locked up like that dude in Twisted Metal.
Yes.
And then you just get swung around. You need that, but like bungee cords where you're just kind of like dangling.
Yeah.
Like a shock mount for a microphone.
The mic. Yes,
yeah, but
exactly.
It's you.
All right.
I need a Shelby mount.
I need a Shelby mount. Wait.
Oh, this is a family-friendly show, Shelby.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, okay. No words were said, James. Just your dirty thoughts.
Just a Shelby mount could also be a horse. Because you mount, Shelby mounts that. It's your mount.
Stunt teams. Talking about stunts, I had to bring up our stunt coordinator of the whole series. Zoe Bell is in this episode. She plays the first woman that faints. And you know it's her because she's the only one that gets to say a line. And she goes, Casanova, oh my. So that's the great Zoe Bell doing that scene. What else do we got here? Saffron. We didn't bring up her. She's following behind the gang. She doesn't do a whole lot this episode. She arrives in the Ice Age. She's very cold. And as we're leaving her, somebody is approaching her. So that's pretty much all we're seeing with Saffron this episode.
I think her dad.
Her real dad?
Her dad.
Yeah, remember her dad's in the Ice Age.
The parents, yeah, from the Ice Age.
Oh, that dad. Yeah. Definitely.
Calling back to the joke, of course.
Heck yes.
In the, second episode where they try to leave him there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as usual, I skipped over most of my notes. I did a good amount of them, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I want to wrap it up here with talking about our favorite characters of the episode. So, Shelby, who are you digging this episode?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Or let me rephrase that. Do you have a favorite so far throughout the series?
Yes, I think all of the group make it's like a fun bunch. I like the characters they've come up with here.
It's a fun bunch.
But yeah, Penelope's definitely a favorite. Penelope and then Widget. I always like the smart, brainy character. He's wearing glasses, so... Yeah, but Penelope is really a rock star for me. I love this character. I think it's not a character it's not a common character type that you get to see in a lot of things, especially played by a woman, and it's just so much fun to see.
Do you think, did she remain your favorite throughout this episode?
Yeah, I liked her throughout. I mean, everyone is my favorite, Steve. How can I pick?
I don't like picking favorites either.
It's like, am I supposed to pick if you and James are my favorite? What am I?
You'd pick James. It's easy.
Yeah, I would pick James. We do have a stronger bond.
Yeah.
Yes. We both said the original gathering of the Juggalos.
Yeah, Penelope, just for trying to cheer Kevin up with the magic tricks, really, and coming in and actually shooting at that guy. Like, she was gonna kill him. Mm-hmm. Love it. She was my favorite. I give it to her, whatever award there is.
Penelope. How about you, James?
I think, I don't know if we said our favorites last episode, if we did,
we forgot.
I think Kevin, the last episode, was my favorite. I loved that character arc that they gave him of him being babyface. But then this episode, still Kevin, and then I really like Judy and always Widget.
Yeah. I was kind of leaning towards Alto this episode because I was happy that he finally got to do some stuff, because the last episode, or maybe a couple episodes back, I was bagging on him pretty hard. So I'm going to do like a redemption arc, and I'm going to put him at the top this episode. Usually I'm a Widget or a Judy man myself.
Mm-hmm.
Can I make a confession?
Oh, please. It's a confessional booth. Yes.
Not a big fan of Judy, to be honest. Out of the group, that's the weakest one for me.
Okay, that's a hot take right there, because
no shade or anything. I just had to represent any listeners who might be picking up the same things I am. Like,
of course. Yeah, sure.
Hey, you're not alone.
I mean, I'll accept that. I don't agree with you because Judy was absolutely my favorite for at least the first 3 episodes. I switched teams. I'm a Widget man now, but, Judy's still in second place. James, you hear this heresy over here?
I know, it's weird.
I don't know how to deal with this, but I guess we'll trudge forward.
Maybe Judy is just, I see too much of myself in her, and that's why I'm put off by it,
Okay.
Wait, who's Judy again?
Charlene Yee.
Okay, yeah, I see the complete opposite. I don't see any of Judy in you.
Yeah, I don't like the character. It's not the character. I just don't like. She's just like my least favorite of the group of characters.
Sure.
Which actually, I like that you say that Judy is your least favorite, because that we will say like Alto's our least favorite, or like Penelope's never my favorite, but Penelope's your favorite. They are all good.
Right.
That's right. I agree. And I feel bad because Biddleegg, Rune Temte, was the first person I interviewed from the cast. So I have a special place in my heart for him, but he's never come up as my favorite character. So I guess I'm being honest about this, James.
But that's because he is always the second. And because he kind of is just he's laying back in the cut. He says strong jokes when he wants to. And that's great. But he has yet to take center stage. And I think once that happens, we'll be like, oh, why were we ever not saying he wasn't our favorite?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, shoot, I guess we're going to wrap it up here. We're well past an hour, Shelby, so I'm sorry we kept you past your bedtime. But did anything that I forgot to bring up, or anything you want to bring up before we start winding down, Shelby?
No, I mean, thank you so much for having me on. It's so great to get to chat with you. Always a pleasure to talk to James, and glad to meet you over the airwaves.
Same here. I mean, you agreed to come on one of my other podcasts a long time ago. It fell through, and then nothing happened, but I'm so glad you're here with us this week. I might invite you back. I would accept any invitation on any of your podcasts. Hint. I've really enjoyed talking to you. And if we're wrapping up, I'm going to go ahead and shout out your Twitch,
Sure.
R2 Shelby 2, which is R, the letter R, the number 2, her name Shelby, the number 2. Find her on Twitch. She's streaming quite a bit. You do that bi-weekly or weekly?
Yeah, twice a week.
Twice a week. I was right the first time. Heck yeah. In her podcast, the Rom Complex, where she and her buddy Sam, are you guys really best friends, or do you call yourselves best friends on the podcast?
Yeah,
That's
we're
a hot
best
question.
friends. Why?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like she's my only best friend. We both have other best friends too, but we are among each other's best friends for sure.
Okay, all right. So her and her best friend, Sam, do the Rom Complex, where they talk about a different, as the title indicates, a romantic comedy. And is that bi-weekly or weekly?
That is weekly.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, you're fine. But we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/the Rom Complex, where we have additional mini episodes come out. So if you're subscribed to the Patreon, it is twice a week.
Shout out for that Patreon then. Obviously, I didn't know about it. I do now. So who knows? You might get a new Patreon out of this.
Hello.
The Patreon that I'm part of is the Marshland Media Empire, which you can
real quick.
Yes.
R2, what would be like maybe 2 episodes of the Rom Complex? If people like this show, what are like 2 that you would recommend to them?
Ooh.
Okay, so something you may not know about me is I love time travel romances, especially time loop romances. So I would say if you're into time and that's what you're checking out, a couple of the good ones. We talked about the movie Palm Springs, which is a time loop rom-com that's a favorite of mine. Another interesting time, if you want more of a dramatic take, there's a movie About Time.
That's a good one.
So either of those episodes.
Okay, that's actually like much better than I was trying to get you to say. Maybe do the Dudley Do-Right episode and Christmas is Canceled, which I was a guest on both. One of those is a rom-com. One of them maybe is a rom-com.
I will suggest the movie Time After Time to you then, Shelby. It's a romantic comedy involving Jack the Ripper.
Ooh.
And it's a time travel romantic comedy. I think you'll like it.
Love that. Murder and romance.
No, I did your plugs for you. I don't know why I did that. I usually ask my guests to do their plugs. Did you have any other plugs you wanted to do before I move on to James, Shelby?
Yeah, check out Marshland Monster and patreon.com/marshlandmedia. What is it? No,
MLM Pod.
MLM Pod. Patreon.com/MLM Pod. And all the stuff that's over there.
Yeah.
That's my plugs.
Also, another plug for Shelby. You did a show with me called Formulaic. We referenced it where we would take a formulaic show, break down the plot beat by beat, and then write an episode, like lay it all out, outline it on the show. Then we would write that episode in full. Then the following episode would be a table read.
If anyone's interested in like building their writing skills and getting better at it, highly recommend doing what James and I did, because my just writing ability, my ability to sit and type out a page of something has increased drastically since doing Formulaic.
Thank God. I'm like, did Shelby get something besides like having fun with your buds? You learned some stuff.
Oh yeah, doing Formulaic has definitely made me a better writer.
Heck yeah.
Oh, and then, hey guys, head over to patreon.com/MLM Pod, where for $5 a month, you get exclusive content every single Friday. I'd tell you what's coming out this week, but I don't know when these episodes come out.
Dude, I don't either. They just come out every 2 weeks or so. All this stuff is going to be in the show notes. There'll be some easy links for y'all to click for Shelby and James and for myself. Next week, James, we're being joined, not next week. Well, for us, it's 2 weeks, whatever. The next episode, James, for episode 6, we're being joined by Anthony Yava. I'm just going to give up on trying to say his last name. Anthony Stuntman is going to join us to recap episode 6 with us. Looking forward to that. Shelby, thank you very much for joining us on Sweet Child of Time. It was great having you.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm going to go back in time so I can do it again.
Yay! And until then, everybody find water and shade and shoes. Bye.
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 Oh, and twigs.
And twigs.
Let's add that in there.